800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, good evening, everyone. My name is Angelo Rocha. I'm the host of Vet for Vets, a show where I talk to local Johnson County residents and we discuss their life before, during, and after their military service. Today with me is my hopefully permanent co-host, Mike Wilshire.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Now you're
Yeah.
live. There you go. Mike Wilshire, thank you for joining me again. You have your fantastic show before mine, and I figured, hey, might as well just stay over a little bit longer and discuss with me events that affect veterans, things that affect veterans from all walks of life.
All the news does today.
All the news.
The news affects us today, right? It
So-
seems like.
Before we get started, I just want to mention that Vet for Vets is proudly serving Johnson County daily. Okay, for the Joco County Community Radio, or Johnson County Community Radio, I guess you can call it. We're always looking for veterans out there. If you're a veteran and you happen to watch this now, or watching it later, or listening to it now, or listening to it later, just so you know, Vet for Vets is always looking to talk to people like yourself who have a story to tell. Sad tales, happy tales, tales that are energetic, tales that motivate people. Maybe some experiences you might have gone through in the military that might help other veterans that are going through the same similar situation. And one way to do that is reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social medias. Okay, you can contact me and say, hey, my name is Joe Schmo, or Joe Bob, Jimmy, Joe Bob, if whatever your name is, and say, hey, I used to be in the Army, Navy, Marines. I served this and this year, Vietnam, Korean War, which is going to be very rare to get, Gulf War, like me, I did Iraq, Afghanistan, and just say, hey, I would love to be on your show. Okay. One great example of what happens is like Mike here. He reaches out to me and says, hey, I would love to be on your show. And I said, sure. We discuss, we have a little pre-interview, and next thing you know, he's sitting in front of me and he's discussing his life before, during, and after his military service. Now, before we go further, I just want to mention, if you are a veteran and you are going through some shit, i.e. depression, PTSD, you're thinking about ending yourself, please, please, please do not be a statistic. You got to hear me out here. Do not be a statistic. There are people like myself, if I'm talking to you on the camera there, myself and Mike here, who will answer the phone call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even if I don't know what the phone number is, or even if sometimes I don't answer, I'll call you right back, especially if it's somebody that's in dire need of help. But if I can't help, or Mike can't help, or others that are veterans can't help, there's a phone number that you can call, 988. It's like 911, except it's for first responders, military, people of that nature. And what you do is you call that number, and the person will call, say 988. Somebody will actually answer the phone, and you get to talk to a real person, and they help try to guide you to the right situation, or the right areas of expertise. For example, some people are financially stressed out. They want to kill themselves because they have no money. They're broke, they're homeless, or whatever that is. And they need help. The people from 988 will help you go to financial institutions to help you reorganize your funds. They'll help you find the money that the VA rightfully deserves to give you. Okay. Same thing with PTSD. They'll guide you to people that'll help you with your PTSD or depression. Okay. I have my own demons of involving depression. I don't need to have a doctor tell me, hey, you've got depression, when I know I have it. I just happen to know my way of dealing with that depression. But there are a lot of people out there that cannot deal with it. Those are the ones who are in such a bad situation that handgun or pills or whatever they find, whatever means.
Did you see that movie where he goes in and robs the bank? It's a true story. He was like a Marine that was going through, like, the VA screwed up his payments. It's a true story.
Oh, is this the one where it's like live on the news station?
I believe so.
Yeah, there's they're having a news broadcast and he holds them all hostage.
No, I don't think it's. I don't know if it's that.
There's a movie like
There's
that.
a movie like that.
Yeah,
Well, this one's within the last 2 or 3 years. It's very new.
Interesting.
And I'm gonna have to look up. I'll get back with you and let you know. But it's that situation. It was like a $1,900, situation
My
that,
goodness.
like, I mean, like, between you and I, we could help the guy. We're not telling you, to do anything drastic. We're saying reach out before it gets too much. You can't let something back you up. And that's just a small situation. And that's one of however many stories of people who just, you need to reach out to 988. You need to reach out to somebody, reach out to us, reach out to the show. You can get in touch with us 24/7. Like he said, our numbers are public on the station. You can
and
call
we
us.
have contacts that are related to the Veterans Administration. We have our own Johnson County veterans folks that that listen to us, and they even sometimes come in and discuss certain things that are being made, certain changes that the healthcare system is putting towards veterans, and other programs like that. So now when it comes to having issues, I usually try not to tell people what's going on, but I'm trying to be open so people know, hey, look, I have depression and I've been through some shit. Have you been through any type of crises while you were in the military?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even while I was over there were things that happened. There's, go left, go right, go straight ahead.
Yeah.
You think about stuff all the time that you don't really know which way to go.
Yeah.
And you second guess yourself. And that causes a crisis with people. Like, I've had people lock up and not realize. I'm like, hey man, you got to get a hold of yourself. You got to pay attention to the job that's ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you got to think. And what I do, like I told you before, I think of where I am right now, what's going on, what I got to do going forward, and how to get my head back in the game. Now, it can be smell, it could be taste.
Yep.
It could be smoke gets in your eyes and you kind of burns a little bit. I know for me, a trigger for me, and it's real gross, was barbecue. Sweet smell of barbecue smells like
I have that right now. My wife can tell you.
Yeah.
She knows I hate boogers,
right?
Phlegm.
Yep.
And of course, my family, they try to get me out of that mode by, doing that.
Yeah, right.
They
all
do.
The time.
All my family does that. Even though I told them specifically that it triggers me.
Right.
It does because of what I've went through.
But tell them why, because the desert, right?
No, it's just because one time, I might as well share it. One of my soldiers shot a vehicle that was trying to go through our traffic control point. And one of the driver, his head was blown off, completely off. And half his head was blown off the driver's window, hanging outside with tendons and, whatever was hanging.
Right. Up your nose.
And nobody wanted to open the door because it was disgusting blood matter everywhere.
Yeah.
Me, I was like, you know what? I'm desensitized to all this type of stuff because I've seen dead bodies and stuff, and I wasn't really too worried. But the first thing I saw hanging on the side of the door was just phlegm,
Oh, wow.
boogers,
Yeah.
brain matter,
Yeah.
eye socket bone, fragments of and pieces. It was disturbing. Of course, I try not to think about it, but what happened was I reach in through the driver's door and I'm trying to open the door, and I can feel the blood and matter, the organs, all of that stuff is just hitting my hand, and I can feel it. Of course, I'm wearing gloves, but I can feel it falling on my arm. So all of a sudden, I grab my bayonet, and I just start cutting through the brain matter, like almost like through the gap of the window. I just pretty much cut through the body, because the head was literally leaned back, like the tendons were tight because half the head was hanging.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I cut through, and the body falls back, and I didn't realize what was going to happen. The body goes, it lynches back, and all that shit just splatters on me, all over me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, to me at the time, it was a dead body. The passenger survived, luckily, but his shoulder was gone. From what I heard, he lost his arm. And to me, it stuck with me for a long time. That and a bunch of dead children.
Yeah.
But the sight of green boogers and phlegm and all that stuff on my arm and splattered on me it's horrible. But the thing is, my family, to get me over that, they always mocking me. They're always like, even though at the time, and I still to this day, I still get kind of about it,
right?
And having to grab his body. A lot of people that are listening right now, you don't know what it's like to grab a dead body. You have no idea. You can grab your own arm right now and you feel resistance. You feel the muscles moving. You feel the blood moving. You feel the veins moving and throbbing.
Dead weight.
And then when you have to move over a dead body or move a body that's lifeless, no longer living, they become like rag dolls, almost like grabbing a scarecrow. Except it feels so weird when you grab their skin. You don't know what it's like.
It's 200, 300 pounds.
And then 2 months later,
yeah,
we were training the army, the military army guys, the Iraqis, the independent Iraqi armies up there in the Northeast, near the Turkey, the border of the people of Iraq, the Kurdistan, they call them the Kurdish. So one of the army guys accidentally gets shot by one of his own men because it was nighttime. It's kind of like the same incident with that football player that got shot.
Tillman.
It was fratricide. He got shot, and they were trying to transport him. Of course, I'm part of the QRF team, which means Quick Reactionary Force. So we grab him and take him to where the helipad is. Of course, we're trying to give him CPR. Our medic is trying to put life into him by putting oxygen, and he's holding on my hand. And as I'm holding his hand, I could feel him slowly he's like gagging and coughing up all of this phlegm and all of these boogers, trying to breathe.
Your worst nightmare.
Yeah, and it's like splattering all over me. I remember having this blanket that my daughter at the time, she was like maybe 1 or 2. My ex-wife had sent me this blanket, and I used this blanket to wrap the wound that he got shot.
That's what you had.
Yeah, and I used it. That's all I had. And that blanket was gone because it was all full of blood and boogers and stuff. And it's like, dude, it's like literally 2 months after that. And then, of course, I've had this discussion with my family about it. Like, hey, quit making fun of me. It really affected me, at the time. It's really bad.
Sure.
But I've kind of got over it a little bit.
I find that you got to have that one guy or that
dark
one
humor.
person. Well, you got to have that person you can go to talk to it about. Also, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just when I have a friend, his name's Greg, he is in Kentucky, and once in a blue moon, it'll get dark. It'll get dark enough that I'm just like, man, I got to call Greg. And I'll be on the phone with him about 15 minutes and I'm laughing. I don't know what it is, but just talking.
Doesn't matter how dark it gets, right?
Oh, it's so bad. Like, I hope there's never a transcript of that, somewhere. If NSA's listening or something, they're going to be like, these guys are bad. We're going to have to put them down. They're like,
is it as bad as Biden's conversations he had?
I don't know. But I know that every time I hear one of those recorded conversations or I see some text back and forth between people, I am like, man, I hope nobody ever sees the stuff that all of us talk. Veterans and stuff. I mean, we will say, and if it ain't dark, it ain't funny. And it's so
bad.
Bad.
Veterans are very dark, dark people. We say some of the darkest shit.
Yeah.
This is why I make such a great screenwriter.
Right.
It's just
right.
because
It's
I
there,
can come
it's
over.
already,
Yeah, it's already there. I can
Yeah.
come up and write
Yeah.
whatever I need to write.
It's under the surface.
Yeah.
It's just right there waiting to come up, right?
Man,
When it's over and done.
what kind of experiences have you gone through? Any stories that you want to share
You
to
know,
the Johnson County folks?
the things that get me, and one of the things that's happened, I've had enough injuries where I've been on the back of a stretcher and helpless.
Yeah.
And laying on my back, like everybody's like, let's just lay. I'm
Barely
sorry.
hear you. No,
Laying on her back and staring at the stars. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna stare at the fire. I'm gonna lay on my stomach and look at you while we're
Yeah.
out here in the woods. You know,
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be on my back and helpless again, staring at
Yeah.
stars. And I mean, it was some stuff's minor, some of it's serious. You know, I was in a coma for a few days because of a vehicle rollover incident. I had my heart never dropped below like 130 beats a minute.
Dang.
The whole time I was there. They were concerned because you're just locked in it, your brain's swollen, you're locked in the moment where you're at. And that's with the helmet on. I mean, you can imagine if I wouldn't have had,
Goodness.
all the gear on that we're wearing, I don't know where I'd be now. And you're miserable, you're hot, you're nasty. In the vehicle that we're in, we're
The
in
whole
one of those,
time.
yeah, we're in one of these excursions that they had, the Ford Excursion,
Yeah.
which was
Heavy
built,
armored.
Yeah, it
Heavily
was
armored.
built to take over in third world countries, and it's made to compete with the Humvee, and it's this up high end stuff.
Yeah, the special
The
forces use
vehicles,
those.
yeah, that's what I was driving. I was
Yeah.
driving those guys. I was
Nice.
shuttling them, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
got clipped and by a vehicle, and it they're driving 190 miles an hour over there on their highways.
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to stop.
No, and
We try not to.
That guy hit me, and when he did, that vehicle started tumbling, and for I every now and then I'll wake up and I'll have like my heart's beating fast, and I'm like, I have to tell myself I know where I'm at. You feel around, you make sure I'm in my bed, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, I'm good. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's stuff that it's going to happen.
Do you still have dreams?
Yes.
Sometimes even nightmares where you're in the desert.
Yes.
Like you're still serving again.
lost.
I have them all the time.
I have dreams where I'm lost.
Yeah.
I have dreams where I'm not wearing all my equipment. My weapon's not functioning, and I can't get it to function.
Yeah.
I have those dreams. Like
I have
often.
dreams like that all the time where I'm screaming at my soldiers to hurry up.
Right.
Like get the fuck move,
Right.
and I get those. Then I wake up and I'm like,
Right.
oh shit, I'm not in the service anymore.
Right. Randomly, I'll
Yeah.
have some. I've had some now where randomly someone's there that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And I've told myself, this is a dream. I got to wake up.
Yeah.
This is not real. You're not supposed
Yeah.
to be here. There's no way. I know
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be here. And it's weird, the stuff you have. And, there's a medications that you can take to stop the dreams.
Yeah, because it levels out some kind of chemicals that.
But if you
reduces
go
the dream
off
state.
of them,
Yeah.
then they get worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't really want, like, everything that I'm on is what I want to stay on. I don't
Yeah.
want to go on nothing else. I don't want to go off of anything.
Yeah.
I don't want anything changing. Everything's dialed in right.
Yeah.
My heart rate, everything, all that stuff's good. Need to lose weight, but other than that,
Ever date a woman who she says she's bipolar, but then you date her and you're like, you're not bipolar, you're
Yeah.
tripolar.
yeah,
I've
got
met those. Yeah,
yeah,
something
you got
else.
something else wrong with you,
Man,
because
I tell you,
we
I've
have some,
dated those.
and there's people who want to convince you, no, you're the one that's messed up, not
Yeah.
me. I'm diagnosed as bipolar, so
Yeah.
I'm okay. I've been diagnosed.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not getting any treatment. You're
Yeah.
not taking any medicine, and you just drink. That's scary. Like, I
Some
don't-
people believe that drinking is a cure, it's a cure-all for depression, PTSD, but it's temporary.
Right.
Okay, eventually you get to pass a point where it's no
Right.
longer a fun time. You're
Yeah.
just straight up drunk.
Yeah, and you're out of control, and somebody's got to
Yep.
babysit you or take care
Oh
of
my
you or
God.
something.
And now you have like Uber. You have all these veterans that are literally, their careers are destroyed. They serve their military for 10, 15, 20 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And next thing you know, they're in their civilian world.
Mhm.
They get pulled over for drinking and their life is over.
Right.
Because it's the third offense, second offense, fourth offense, and then
Right.
that's it. And then it's like, why didn't you just call somebody to come pick you up? Because you're such a stubborn asshole. Now you
Yeah.
ruined your career, because now you're going to upgrade your misdemeanor to a felony because of that. And once once you're a felon, what happens?
That's
A
it.
lot of
You're done.
jobs are gone.
You can't carry a gun. You can't own
No,
a gun.
nothing.
That's like stripping a veteran of everything. It
Everything.
not even if he.
It's like
a lot
you're
of guys-
trained all those
Yeah.
years to carry. And next thing you know, like, hey, you can't
There's
carry
guys I know who don't own a gun.
Yeah.
But if they got the right to carry taken away from them because
Yeah.
they were a felon or something, he would kill
Yeah.
them, and they don't own one.
The government is trying, the conservative Republican side is trying to get it to where open carry open carry or concealed carry should be should be allowed in every state. It should be a national thing, but I don't know if it'll ever happen because there's just way too many blue states that just don't know.
Not saying you're allowed to kill anyone.
No,
you're saying you're allowed to carry.
Yeah, you should be able to you should be able to defend yourself.
Murder laws have never changed. It's still murder just to pull a gun out and shoot someone, but the laws have never changed. But they're just saying you should be allowed to carry if you wanted to.
I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative or if you're a socialist or a hardcore Republican. I'm going to tell you right now, facts matter, statistics matter, truth matters. And those are all three things, in my opinion, that liberals hate. Regardless if you're liberal or not, they hate those three things. They hate facts, they hate statistics, and they hate figures. Anything that brings them up. One great example is 90% of all major cities in America, that 90% that are run by Democrats have the highest gun laws in America. Why? Why is that? Why do you think they have that?
Well, have the highest gun laws?
No, have the highest gun crimes in America.
Gun crimes.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're taking guns away from the person who can and will defend themselves.
Exactly, because where do criminals go?
I'm going to go to the weakest target possible.
So, and
I'm not going to that guy that's got. So think about it. You're casing a house.
Yep.
You're going to case houses. Are you going to go to the house where there's like 4 pairs of hunting boots on the front porch and you can tell there's shotgun, husk all like the shell casings lying around? Are you going to go to that house where it's like, this something, only vegans live here? Or you got some, I don't know. I'm not picking on vegetarians or vegans, but you got something that just jumps out to you that this is the house that I want. You know, I could not imagine in a state like Texas. Like, I think those are really brave guys that go and rob people at gunpoint. These guys tried to carjack a cop the other day in Dallas and take his car. And I think he ended up getting shot in the leg, but he traded fire with them.
I hear some good stories in Texas. You'll have one guy rob a gas station. He gets shot by every customer in the store. 6
customers,
Only in Texas will that happen.
There's one where a guy tried to rob the pizza parlor and was trying to take all the guns
Even
from
the pizza person.
taking the pizza from people. And the guy ends up shooting him. And when the guy goes to disarm him because he didn't know if the guy was dead or not, he finds out it was a toy. And he throws it against the wall. You idiot. You robbed this place with a toy. Like, I shot you with a toy.
Well, if you're a criminal, think about this. If you're a criminal, where is the least amount of police force? Major cities, because
they're strung out.
The per capita amount of police to the amount of people are cities. So Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. They just also happen to be the highest gun crime areas in America. A lot of these cities have a lot of gun crime, but 90% of the cities, which is odd, is all run by Democrats. Because why? Because good law-abiding citizens have their guns taken away, or it's very hard for them to attain those guns, including veterans. It's very hard for them to attain it because some blue states want veterans to have mental evaluations. I'm sure some of them need it. But at the same time, just because you served and you do have a mental issues doesn't mean that you're just going to straight up kill somebody. Okay. Not like a Chris Kyle event where the guy was literally deranged and shot Chris Kyle because Chris Kyle was making fun of him, just playing around.
I could tell that they were making fun of
me. It just
the voices in my head told me they were making fun of me.
Yeah, but it was military humor, just guys talking shit about each other.
Right.
Not, like military people call each other gay all the time. Oh yeah, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. Okay, but does that mean you should kill somebody over that?
Right. And it has a different. It's more like you're not calling somebody that. It's more like you're calling them sissy. Like you're calling them less of being
exactly.
Manly, we had to make it because that was the way it was whenever I went in at first. Because I'm in the early '90s, and we made a game where it was like, okay, if you think he's not being an alpha, because we're all trying to be alphas, let's play that game. If you think he's not being an alpha, the second you think he's not being an alpha, you raise your hand. And so we would play that game, and it was funny. Guys would tell a story, and the story would be told, and at some point in time, somebody would raise their hand, and everyone would start laughing, or everyone would raise their hand at the same time. Or there's just this one guy that every story he has, 3 words into it, everyone's got their hand up because it's just something that he wasn't alpha enough. There was, and Zach, if you're listening, I'm messing with you right now. I'm not going to tell the story this time, but it's a funny story, and we would make that joke, and it helped a lot, because it did become a kinder, gentler service, and there was stuff that we probably shouldn't have been talking about to begin with, and that's fine and all. But it became the raise your hand game was hilarious. And then one day you're walking through camp, and these guys are telling a story. They're not even in your unit, and they're telling a story, and finally all these hands go up, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't tell that story anymore. You can't tell that story." And we knew what it meant. Yeah. And everyone else is like, "How do you guys know what that meant? We just did that in our unit." I don't know. One of your guys was in the boat with us one day and told us about it.
Yeah, well, the military started changing right before I got out. They got rid of a lot of military cadences that involved sexual parts. They got they basically, now that more women were involved with the armed forces, it's like, hey, you can't say that shit about boobs anymore. You can't say that about women's private parts anymore. You can't say that about people's moms. You can't say that. No more stuff.
No more Jody. No more Yellow Bird, Yellow Bill. You can't say,
because they all represented something sexual of some nature, and they wanted us to stop.
Yeah. And we never even said anything dirty in some of them, but you knew what it meant. You danced around the subject, and it was so much fun.
It was
to sing those, to run to them, to the things that we did. Yeah, you get tired of that.
I tell you what, my time in the service was great. I had a great time. I had some horrible moments, like I've explained, but I would never take anything back.
No, it's what made you.
I got hurt. I got disabled in the military. But I've also accomplished a lot of great things in my life through the military. Things that I didn't think it would be possible.
Right.
Things that led me to where I am today.
Right.
All because of the military.
Right. And it was a rite of passage.
It kind of was. Yeah, I could see that.
I had a cousin of mine not long ago. He goes, "Man, I'm just like the kid that's always going to sit at the kid table."
Yeah.
So go join the service.
Yeah.
Trust me, you didn't put you in that kid table again.
I'll tell you what, if you're listening to this randomly on Facebook or other social media sites like LinkedIn or YouTube, if you're just listening to me right now and you're a high school kid and you have no idea what you're going to do after high school, if you're going to be working at a fast food restaurant, at a welding shop, at some kind of freaking restaurant of some sort doing fast food service, like being a waiter, or straight up, owning your own business because you took out a bank loan, whatever it is that you're doing after high school, you have no idea what you're doing. I'm telling you, the military is a great way for you to find yourself. Just make sure you find yourself an occupation in the military that helps you carry it over to the civilian life.
Yeah.
Don't be a combat engineer. If you go in the military and somehow the recruiter manages to convince you that, combat engineers will make a lot of money outside of the civilian world, he's lying to you. He is bullshitting you.
No.
Who you tell me a job other than working for the working for the police force for the bomb squad.
Right.
Tell me what other job you deal with bombs other than maybe Halliburton for their explosives.
Maybe
factory.
Some guy that sets off fireworks at an amusement park, would be that kind of person.
I don't think Ted Kaczynski is going to have his own factory. No. I really don't think so. I don't think he hires people.
It's the same thing with infantry. You're going to be working in a construction crew when you're done.
It is.
You're not, everyone's infantry. You're either infantry, artillery, or armor if you go in the Army. Yeah. I don't care what your specialty is. So pick an MOS that you can use on the outside. You still get your goo.
Like people that want to be doctors and nurses, be a medic in the military.
You'll still get your hoorah. You'll still get your stuff on.
Oh, I thought you said hoo-ha.
No.
What's on your mind there?
Yeah, no. You'll get that too.
Hi, everybody. This is Angelo Rocha. Please stay tuned for the second half of Vet for Vets. Thank you so much.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Welcome back to Vet for Vets. I'm your host, Angelo Rocha, and my co-host is Mike Wilshire. Mike Wilshire, you want to talk before I read our advertisement here? You want to talk to Johnson County about your show?
Okay, the Joco Voice. I'm on every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. We're going to be covering local Johnson County news. I can't talk today. Local Johnson County news. I know, right? Johnson County. And I can't talk. I don't know why. I get around this guy and I get all excited and we start talking about fun stuff and the blood pressure goes up, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Joco Voice. We're going to be covering over Johnson County news. I want to bring out the good and the bad of Johnson County. We run over some fun stuff, the good stuff, the upside of it, and then we'll talk about the underbelly of society with the crimes and the things that happen. But it's still fun, and it's still fun to bring up and try to put a comic spin on it when it's over and done with.
I'm going to name drop here. Make sure you watch Jake Wernett's show.
Yes.
And Let Freedom Ring, and also Greg Cooper's show. Greg Cooper does a fantastic job. His show has a lot of political stuff when you want to know about independent school district issues, political issues involving certain mayoral positions. Greg Cooper is the one to listen to. Okay, continuing on our second half of the show, in case you're just now tuning in, just letting you know that Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch. The station app is also available for free on all Android and Apple devices. That means all Android and Apple devices. How do you search for this Apple thing, right? And this app. Just go to your store, search it, and then, of course, there it is. You see the Joco app. Check out our lineup and more at jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Next Level Claims. Again, this episode and more are brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's H-A-I-L, hail, not hail.
I know, right?
Because if you're from the South, it's going to sound like hail.
Right.
Oh, hail.
Right.
But that's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. That's Tiffany's personal website. I recommend it if a certain event is coming up, or you just want to find little trinkets and gifts for your family and loved ones.
That'd be awesome.
So
right? Just hit them all at once. You just get it all from one website and get it delivered.
I had discussed with you that me and Tiffany are going to try to reorganize the show.
Okay.
Basically, every couple of weeks, we'll have a new guest on. Because what was going on is every week I would try to bring a guest on, but repeatedly, week after week, my guest would call in 1 or 2 days before and say, hey, I can't make it, or hey, I just too scared for this, or outright say, no, I'm not doing it. I know it's hard because a lot of them don't want to open up.
Right.
And I get that. But I just want to let you know, look, that Vet for Vets is a show where you and I, or me, you, and Mike will just basically be bullshitting like the way me and Mike are bullshitting now.
Right.
There's no sense in you being nervous, you being shy, and it also lets you express your feelings, how you really feel about the military, how you feel about your experiences in boot camp, your experiences in MEPS, your experiences maybe in telling people what it feels like to take the life out of somebody's hands, which I know what that feels like. Okay, not because I'm demented, it's because of what I did in the military.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you brought up a funny one. Let's go to something funny.
okay, let's
Your experience in MEPS. What was your MEPS like?
I'm going to tell you the one thing I remember that stands out the most in MEPS is there was this one guy. He was this good-looking, tall, handsome, well-built black guy,
Mhm.
and he was walking around. You know how in MEPS you do all the different back and forth movements, so that way the medical medical experts can look at you and watch you to make sure you don't have flat feet, if you don't have
And you're in your underwear.
yeah, and you're on your underwear the whole time. But you have this good-looking. We're talking about like Idris Elba level,
Adonis,
good-looking.
yeah.
Yeah, he was wearing tighty whities. This guy, total brute of a man, is walking back and forth, and he had this gigantic shit stain all up and down his underwear, and everybody's walking by, and we're like, "What the fuck, this dude, man? Come on, man!
Yeah,
How do you have somebody that's so immaculate?
Right.
He's literally a statuesque of a man. He's going to be a great military guy, and he has a shit stain on his
He just
white
didn't-
tidy whities.
He
and I'm
trusted a fart he shouldn't have
Oh,
that day,
my
right?
God.
It's just
My wife says turtle head poking every time something like that happens. Or my favorite is when
sat
she
on an
says,
almond joy,
yeah, touching cotton.
touchy cotton.
touching cotton.
Nice.
That's what,
Nice. Now I remember going into and having to be in our underwear and just walking all over the place in this room.
yeah.
And these doctors were like 200 years old. These were the oldest doctors I'd ever
No
seen.
shit, right? I remember
And-
mine being wrinkly.
Right.
Like Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Yes, up in your face, and you can just see all the blackheads and craters in his forehead, and you're like, I'm gonna vomit. And then, of course, everyone's like, well, did they make y'all all just bend over in a line and
Yep.
show your?
Mhm.
We didn't. We actually
did-
went
not
into.
me.
They had
did
a
that to
curtain.
us.
I don't know how I got the privacy. Thank God, they put us into a curtain, and that's where he checked you for a hernia,
Mhm.
and he checked your prostate
Yep.
or whatever else he's looking for up
Yep.
there. I don't know what else exists up there, but he found it
Yeah.
because it's
Oh,
horrible.
Well, they do it all now in private.
Yeah,
But I feel bad for the women. The women have it worse because they have to lay on some stirrups. They got to really go in there and verify that they don't have anything.
oh,
going
like
on
cancer or something, right?
Yeah,
They're checking
they
on
do. They
pap
really,
smears and
yeah,
all that stuff.
that's
They
literally what
really,
they do for the women in the military. It's just, it's like
women always have it worse. They
they
always
do.
have it worse. They got a bad agent when they
Oh.
negotiated their deal because it's always worse for a woman. I could just imagine
Yeah.
everything that they had to go, that we went through, and the girls, the females that were, special shout out to the old IBU 15 girls. If you're out there listening, I'm talking to you. We had some tough women. We had, because we were out there in those little boats bouncing around the ocean. And I mean, you didn't know those girls had
Yeah.
a monthly visitor. You didn't know anything. They didn't. The only
Yeah.
way you knew is if
Actually,
them
one of
told
my
you.
best friends who was in the military who's my friend on Facebook. She was one of the toughest freaking SOBs I've ever met.
Re-
She became a drill sergeant and everything later.
Those were the worst ones too.
Yeah, her
Female
name.
drill
By the way,
sergeants.
if you're listening now, you know who you are, Danita Shea Walters.
Mhm.
I tell you what, that woman there,
You even
she was a small woman, skinny woman. We're talking about like
probably
really
scary as hell. Huh?
scary, not scary, but no, she's a pretty woman, and she
No, but
does
just
her thing.
when she's in drill sergeant
Oh,
mode,
I'll
they're
tell you what,
horrible.
if I can bring photos of her, she looks very
Right,
like
right.
she
No.
looks like she can demean you in many ways.
They're probably the most beautiful woman in the world away, but while they're in drill sergeant mode, you're like, that is the scariest little thing I've ever seen, right? I don't want her talking to me.
And I knew she
And-
was, and I knew she was going to be a drill sergeant. I just knew in my heart that she was, just because she was always such a good soldier.
Yeah.
And I just knew she was.
My females that I experienced with, I will ask them, what was worse, a drill instructor that was male or female? And they go, oh, the female ones, the
women's
female
tough.
are so horrible. They're so awful. And you're like, even y'all think so? Oh, yeah, the guys, they're just mean. But the women, they can really go after your soul. And you're like,
Yeah.
what?
I had this one female drill sergeant in my AIT. She was very beautiful.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I remember her to this day is because whenever we'd be doing PT in the morning, she would do the PT. Everybody. At this time, I'm only an E1.
Right.
It's 1999,
Mhm.
and I have no idea of pretty much anything about the military yet. And we're on the ground doing stretches, and all I remember is her having her legs spread open,
Yeah.
right, and she's stretching, reaching to your left leg, right leg, and all I remember seeing is like the biggest bush in between the gap in her box and her PT shorts, and I remember just seeing, oh my God, and I'm like, this is like the most beautiful military,
Right.
and just this 1980s bush. It's like, come on, you mean to tell me you can?
But after you've been there long enough, it'll do it for you. You haven't seen it.
Eventually you get to the point where
I
it's
know.
been so long. Anything
Yeah.
that's
I
walking.
can remember one of the guys. I remember one of the guys in my unit. He said, "Hey, what do you think about so and so?" And we're all like, "What do you
Wait 3
mean?"
months. Wait 3
Yeah,
months.
what do you mean? And he goes, "How long would you be on a deserted island before you would you try to do something?" I'm like, 15 minutes?
Yep.
You don't want to wait. It's only
Yep.
going to get like her legs. She's going to be like a
Mm-hmm.
man after 6 weeks on that island.
Well, it's a known thing that whenever men and women are around each other for a certain, even if they're not attracted in the beginning,
right.
over time, getting to know somebody, eventually it's the effect of an overweight, not really attractive fat guy
Right.
who over time the woman just falls in love with him because
Right.
he was able to work his humor into their conversations, always made her laugh, and
That's
eventually
how I've gotten into every relationship I've ever been in.
humor.
Older fat guy that, worked his sense of
And
humor
I
to
tell
get
you
there.
what, and it's literally the same kind of effect that these women in the military are, because I'm sure you've been in the military. Not all the women that join the military are good looking. Some of them just look like chipmunks, or they look like.
Dude, you leave a guy out there long enough.
Bad. Yeah, and the women
he's-
eventually go, eventually the women are able to attain a dude that they're looking for, and vice versa.
There's a desert
Yeah.
handicap. I'm sorry, but there's a desert handicap.
We had this one guy. His name we nicknamed him Doug. He was tall, skinny, pale. He had glasses like the cartoon, the 1990s cartoon Doug.
Yeah.
Nobody in a million years thought he would ever find a girl. He
Right.
talked like Doug, like, hey, how are you? Hey, you guys want to go to the bar?
Yeah.
You guys want to go do this? And we're like, there's no way a woman would ever fall for this. Of course, he gets deployed. Naturally, him being around the same vicinity as women,
Yeah.
all of a sudden he comes back from deployment. Hey, guys, guess what? I'm engaged. It's like, what?
Look what I
Who?
got.
And of course, similar to
Right.
him, the
Right,
same
right.
kind of, but it's like that brings me to a point. There is somebody out there for everyone.
Right. Never think you're
Everyone.
alone.
Never think that think about it. You are a speck of sand in a beach,
So
right? And there is another speck of sand somewhere else on the other side of the beach that is perfect for you. Okay.
somewhere I have it, I'll find it, and I'll bring it in so we can post it so everyone can see. But I went over on a tour of duty, and I was single at the time.
Yeah.
And I your parents worry about you, and my mother was just,
Same here.
yeah, just you're single and you're going over there. I don't want you to do anything stupid. I'm like, I got kids. I'm not going to do anything
Yeah.
stupid. Doesn't matter. And she was so concerned. And a girl had the same last name as me, and she was smoking hot. And
You might as well just tell people, yeah,
she
that's
was
my wife.
married, so she married into that name,
Yeah.
and so she's got a ring on. And I was like, will you take a photo with me so I can mess with my mom? And I took a photo of me holding her hand, and you can't see that I don't have a ring on,
Yeah.
but she has her ring on, and I'm holding her hand.
Guess what, Mom?
And I'm like, Mom, finally they got it right. Look what they issued me.
That's
And my
hilarious.
mother was just like all, because it was email.
Yeah.
It was all caps, no subject,
Oh, my
just,
goodness.
I can't believe. And I'm like, Mom, it's just a joke. It's
It's
just a
a
joke.
I'll
My
tell
poor
you
mother,
what.
I love you, Mom. You have white hair for a reason. It worked. I played a lot of jokes. It's catching up though. I've got
I'm
it
the
too.
same way. I'm really I'm salting
You're
here
getting
on
distinguished, man. You're
the side.
getting
Man,
distinguished.
I'll tell you what, here's a fact. My grandfather, before he passed, he had almost his full set of hair.
Okay.
I have a feeling I'm going to have the same genes as my grandfather,
Yeah.
because I'm 44 years old and my hair is still good. I don't want to jinx myself.
Right.
And all of a sudden I start losing
My
my hair.
dad's still got a full head of hair.
I tell you what.
My grandfather on my father's side, he was balding, but he was like 70. My dad's 70, got a full head of hair.
Yeah.
But when his grandfather died, his grandfather was like 93. He
Full
went
set
in
of
the
hair.
grave 3 days dead with full white hair, full set,
Nice.
very nice, clean cut, good looking man. 3 days dead looks
Man.
better than most of us alive.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine when I was in high school. His name, I forgot what his first name was, but his name is Urinik.
Mhm.
His family was from like Poland or something.
Mhm.
Very nice guy. When we were freshmen together, he always had hair.
Mhm.
Senior year, he starts losing his hair. Senior year, he hadn't even graduated yet. And he's already balding.
Right.
I felt so sorry for this. But then I learned years later, he had like 3-4 kids and is still with her apparently. Oh
you
my
go.
Lord. I
Hey
couldn't
man, if
believe
it
it.
starts to fall out, just shave it. Go all Patrick
That's
Stewart,
what I
man.
say. I have a friend right now, a best friend who listens to me every now and then. And I tell you what, he is going there. He's
Right.
losing his hair. It's like, dude, just embrace it, shave it.
Yeah. So
No, I can't.
Kyle Kinane, the comedian, you
Yeah.
know, he shaves his head bald.
Yeah.
He's got the thick beard. He just walks out on the stage. I'm sorry, but this is the look that's in for men of my age. And I'm like, yes, he nailed it. He's like, I gotta do this. This is what supposedly looks good.
Talking about comedians, this weekend I saw this comedian. It's not racist because he said, I'm just relaying verbatim what he says. He's on stage and he's very Asian looking.
Mhm.
So he gets on stage. He goes, hi, everybody. My name is blah, blah. I don't remember his name. He's like, as you can clearly tell, I am very Asian.
Mhm.
He goes, I'm so Asian. He goes, that my pronouns are he, yeah. When he said
And you're
that,
like, am I allowed to laugh? Am
when
I
he
allowed to
said
laugh?
that shit was so funny. I mean, I couldn't believe. I mean, I was
Right.
literally crying because it was so funny. The crowd is just going insane because it's so
Right.
funny.
Right.
Just like that other comedian, the one where he's doing a slow motion soccer. I don't know if you've seen him. He's blown up all over YouTube. If you haven't seen it yet, there's this guy. I don't remember what his name is, but he's just like Irish comedian,
Mhm.
and he's doing this skit where he does this slow motion soccer run,
Mhm.
like where he jumps and he heads the ball into the goal.
Mhm.
It's so well done. It's so realistic looking that it's literally blown him into the stratosphere.
Oh wow.
Everybody comes to his shows now because of this one little
One.
thing of him just
Oh,
being a slow motion soccer player.
But have you ever seen Joe Coy?
I love Joe Coy.
Okay, when Joe Coy does his mother,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's 80%
Joe
of the
Coy,
mothers.
Joe Coy.
like every
Yeah.
friend that I have that took me home with them when I was in the service that was
Yeah.
Filipino.
Yeah.
You go home to his family
Yeah.
and he's like, my parents are going to have the greatest food ever. It's going to be wonderful. And he, he talks like you and I.
Yeah.
And then you get to that house and you're like, dude, I cannot understand your mother.
Oh
and he's
my
like,
God.
oh, give it a day or two. You'll get it. You'll get it. Cause trust me, she's going to keep talking.
Have you ever heard the one where he talks to the couples on the front of the stage or the front of the seats, and he talks about people with that use the machine, the whatever it's
Oh,
called,
the CPAP?
the CPAP.
Yeah.
And he goes, who here uses the CPAP? And a
Right.
couple raises his hand. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No.
But he goes, dude, why aren't you wearing it? Do you realize you're dying every time you're sleeping? So then he goes, I'm going to do an impression of you of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden he's like, doing the
Yeah.
impression of the person doing the without the CPAP machine. And he goes, do you know what that looks like? It looks like you're sucking a ghost dick. And he's like, and he starts like, and the way he does that, it's so funny.
The one I
So
watched was
funny.
that Isla Schlesinger or whatever.
Yeah.
And she talks about having the party troll. Girls have a party troll that lives in the back of their mind.
Yep.
And it's like she's just sleeping and she's like, and she's sleeping and all hunked over like a troll.
Yep.
And she has nightmares and she's like, Channing Tatum and a stick of butter, and she's like having this stuff. And then you'll randomly go, she hears you go, I'll go out for just one drink.
Yep.
And she goes, what did you say? She goes, next thing you know, you ate a sandwich out of a trash can.
Yeah, I like her.
And
She's hilarious.
you text your boyfriend, your ex-boyfriend, I love you, and hung up your phone and turned it off.
Yeah.
She like goes through that whole bit. I'm like, everyone has that party troll.
Yeah.
Where you wake up the next morning and look at
Yeah.
your phone and you were like,
It's true.
why doesn't my phone have a breathalyzer? I should not be allowed to text after a certain point.
Little known fact, women think about sex as much as men, except men just tend to blab about it. Women don't talk about it. That's the one difference, which is weird, isn't it?
And they act shocked when you talk about it.
Right.
They're thinking about it just as much. But
Well,
they're
it's
like,
because they have
"Oh."
friends or family that are listening in the conversation. They're like, "Phew," they slap you. It's like, quit it. That's my
Nice.
mom.
No, you can't say that in front of
Oh
my
my
mother.
gosh.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. I think you should be able to say stuff in front of my
Damn.
mother. I
So
hope that
how did you end up like? What made you decide ultimately? You know what? I'm going to go to the recruiting office. What made you decide?
So growing up, I love my mom and dad, but we weren't rich. We lived a very budgeted life.
Yeah.
Like, my father got paid. That was A. B was the bills, and C
Whatever
was
was
what was
left
left over. And there really wasn't much.
That's literally similar to my life.
Yeah. So I couldn't afford college. And the only way I was going to ever go to college, and I read in a book somewhere, they said the best way to get up the next class of life is a college degree. And I was like, the only way I'm ever going to be able to go to college, somebody's going to have to pay for it. The military we had the Montgomery GI Bill
Yep.
in Texas. And now we got post 9/11, and you even got the
Hazel-
chapter 30.
Hazelwood Act, the Legacy Act.
Yeah,
You got quite
yeah.
a few things that you
Yeah,
can.
there's all these things, you know, and
Mhm.
I did that to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason why. And I kind of didn't realize how much I was a square peg that fit in a square hole.
Yeah.
Life was very structured and it was very easy. You just did enough and you did well. And once you get past, there's guys that are glory hounds and they want to get medals and they want to get
Yeah,
ribbons.
I mean,
Those are the
I know
guys
a
that are
lot
going
of
to
those
burn
guys.
out. You're going to burn out early. Do your job and the medals will come. You're never going to
Yeah.
get a medical. You're never going to get a medal for what you deserve. You're going to get a medal for what they think you deserved.
Well, that's why one of my drill sergeants early on in the military, one of the first things he told me was always make your uniform look good and keep up with your PT, and that's all you really need in the military to have a
In
good
the Army.
in the Army to have
In
a
the
really
Army,
good
yeah.
military career. That's it.
Your
Make
uniform,
have your
make yourself
uniform
look good,
crisp, your boots shined,
and your
your
PT.
your uniform is looking straight, you're shaved, and then your PT, and that's it. And sure enough,
We had guys who.
that's what a lot of guys did.
Well,
in
the
Army.
vice versa. You always ask what the difference of the Navy is. We
Yeah.
had guys that were in the Navy that were like, look, I always look good. I look like what y'all want a sailor to
Yeah.
look like. And I ace the PT. And I'm like, you don't know how to do your job.
Yeah.
That would be great if you were assigned to the Army. That'd be great because all you need in the Army is your trigger finger. If
it.
you're an 11 Bravo, you need your trigger finger and you need to be able to hump a ruck. You need to be able to carry a heavy sack. That's it. In the Navy, we got a job for you to do. You
Yeah.
have stuff you have to do. You have to qualify. You have to be able to operate these systems that keep these ships afloat. And when guys can't do it, you're like, man, go to the Army. Get out when you're in with your contract and go enlist in the Army. They'll
Well,
take
the Army is one of the few branches of the military that accepts anybody, even prior service.
The
The
Marines
Marines is
won't
the
take
opposite.
anyone.
Yeah, if you've been prior service, they know you've already been corrupted. It's like you're
Right.
not going to be able to change your ways. No,
You
way.
will not be able to conform to the Marine
That's
Corps.
it. Absolutely.
You will always revert
and it's
back.
true. And
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. Well, they need
So-
you to be clear-minded. They got to get everything out of you that your parents put in, that anyone put in, and turn you into a
Yeah,
Marine.
I was this close to joining the Marines.
Right.
This
Why
close,
didn't
but
you?
because I remember seeing the movie Full Metal Jacket, and I
Mhm.
saw how hard that was on them, and that
Mhm.
literally turned me away from from joining the Marines, just because of that scene where
Mhm.
Gomer Pyle
Yeah.
shoots himself, and then the drill sergeant then himself.
Have you ever read the book?
No, I've
The
heard.
book
I heard.
that
I
it's
heard
from?
it's good.
So in the book, that scene where the drill instructor is standing there,
Yeah.
and he realizes Pyle's going to shoot him, he grins. He's so happy he finally turned him into a killer
Yeah.
that he actually
Why?
of it was
I'm
achieved.
surprised that wasn't in the film.
I know.
You know
right?
how
Why
great would
would
it
you
have been if
not?
Lee Harvey or Lee Ermey?
Yeah, Arlie Ermey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How great would it have been if
Yeah.
he just
Yeah,
smiles like,
smile.
I made it.
I did it. Yeah.
I fucking did it, soldier.
I did it. I
you into
turned you into a Marine.
yeah, I turned
like
you
it-
into a killer, and then
that
Oh,
would
that
have
would've
been
been-
awesome,
that
right?
would've been
But that's
great.
in the book. That's in the
Yeah.
actual original.
well, in the book,
screenplay.
Joker also gets killed too.
Yes,
Not his friend. He gets
right.
killed at the
He's
end.
the one that gets killed.
But
Yeah.
the making of the film, Matthew Modine gave the idea to Stanley Kubrick and mentioned to him, hey, he
Let's
would
do
have.
something different
You know what's even worse than being killed in Vietnam?
Mhm.
Having the PTSD of
and turning
seeing
him
if-
into a killer,
and seeing all these people
letting
dying.
it finally
Exactly,
hit him
and that's
turn
going to
him
be
into-
worse than that.
Yeah,
And that leads up to one of the issues that military veterans, especially Vietnam vets, have is the PTSD that they still suffer with decades later.
So
They
you
still
being a
suffer with it.
screenwriter,
Yep.
being a producer, I'm going to tell you my most realistic scene in a movie about the military, and then I want to
I'll
hear
tell you.
yours.
And okay,
Okay. So mine is, of all the movies, which is absolutely BS. Nothing about this military movie is right, with the exception of the uniforms.
okay.
Is G.I. Jane. Have you seen G.I. Jane?
I love that movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love the
Demi
movie.
Moore, Demi Moore it's a fantastic fictional movie.
Yes, totally fictional,
because
though.
no woman would ever beat the Navy SEALs test.
Well,
Not me being a sexist, is just naturally that's the way, because they keep you equal. Doesn't matter. They don't lower the standards in the Marine
Like,
in the Navy SEALs.
99.99% of the planet can't beat
Yeah,
that test, right? So
It's
I mean, like,
point 0.0001%.
yeah, they're less than 1% of the Navy, all of them that
Yeah.
have ever been in, right?
Yeah.
So the scene in that movie, which is total bull, is the scene whenever the Master Chief comes to the door and he tells her to come to parade rest.
Yeah.
And he says, if I want your opinion, Lieutenant, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And slams the door. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is what the military is. You
Yeah.
think you have a right to speak. You think you have an opinion. You think you could vote because it's a democracy. It is
Yeah.
not. you protect democracy and you follow orders. That's it.
There's quite a few movies where I think, knowing what I know, the military, there's quite a few realistic aspects of certain movies. But to me, the movie that sticks out in my mind, or a scene in the film that sticks out in my mind, is Saving Private Ryan. When Tom Hanks, you see him right in the beginning, the first 20 minutes of the film, it really triggers a lot of veterans who've been there, from World War II vets. It literally triggers them.
Where he's got the shake and he can't understand why he's
right
doing
there,
it.
pretty much Omaha Beach, the ransacking of Omaha. They said that scene is so well done that a lot of people use it in colleges to explain the Omaha
what
Beach
PTSD and what Omaha Beach was.
And all pretty much, it wasn't just Omaha, it was all the beaches in France. They literally explained this scene right here is exactly what a lot of them went through.
Right.
Some of them never even got a chance to leave because they just got shot as they were coming out.
Just coming out.
Or drowned.
Mine for that movie is the PTSD is the shake. I call it the shake.
Yeah.
But his is a tremble in his hand.
Yeah,
Mine was on my cheek.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but whenever I would get scared,
Yeah.
it was like on one of, I don't know, I don't get scared like that anymore,
Yeah.
but it was on one of my cheeks. And I would do it at night when I was trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And it would just overcome me, and I would have to sit up, get up, walk around or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't smoke, but I'd go out to the smoke pit because there was always someone out there that you could talk to and stuff, kind of bring yourself back to reality.
Now, the one scene in one movie, in any military movie, that I think is unrealistic is the movie with Clint Eastwood, the one where he's in the Marine Corps. I forgot the name of the movie. Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah.
There's a scene where his lieutenant, or his captain, is degrading him about how he needs to train his soldiers better. You know who I'm talking about, the asshole. In real life, basically Clint Eastwood's character is a Medal of Honor winner. In real life, generals salute, even generals would salute Clint Eastwood's character, but Clint Eastwood is forced to salute him. That's so unrealistic that it boggles people that scene was even in the film.
Right.
Everybody would be saluting Clint Eastwood's character, knowing he was a full medal, or Medal of Honor winner, but they didn't do that in the film, which is something that they completely missed.
And there's scenes that they cut out of movies that they probably should have left in. We ain't got enough time for those.
Yeah.
But there's scenes they cut out of movies that they should have left in. Full Metal Jacket, there's a lot that's BS in that movie.
It is.
But the uniforms are cool.
Yep.
The insertion is cool. That's the only movie I see them drill people.
It was
where
one
they
of the
walk
first
up
films
on people and they shoot them even though they're down.
Yeah.
You don't know they're alive or not. You put more bullets into them. That's the first movie I ever saw that.
Full Metal Jacket and Platoon. Those two movies alone, unbelievable.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Vet for Vets. My name is Angelo Rocha.
I'm Mike Wilshire. Tune in.
Yeah, tune in every week. Mondays, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. Have a good night, and we love y'all.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.